We've got two aspects of our minds. Actually, we've got a lot, but for the sake of this brief discussion, we'll call them two. We'll say conscious and unconscious. And yes, of course, there's subconscious and there's a lot of divisions in there, but let's just divide them and say conscious, unconscious. And in the unconscious comes the subconscious. It's everything that's not fully conscious. Our unconscious mind is all of the stuff that includes everything ranging from the involuntary nervous system, so the fact that you're breathing. Very few of us are conscious of our breath, and yet we're breathing. It's happening on an unconscious level. The fact that we're able to digest our food. The fact that you're able to walk out of here. Very few of us stand up and have to reprogram our conscious minds to remember how to walk. Well, when you've got a toddler, they've got to be very present or they keep falling. The minute you distract them, they plop on the ground. But for us, it's become autopilot. Most of us can drive home from the office to the house to the grocery store without being in the present moment at all. It's so much become a part of our unconscious programming. Habits become unconscious. Ask anybody who smokes and they'll say to you, I don't even, I meant to quit. Next thing I knew, I was, putting my cigarette out in the ashtray. I had no recollection of ever lighting it. People find themselves halfway through, a 6-pack of beer, a chocolate cake, whatever it is, without even realizing. Because we've been on autopilot. We were depressed, we were stressed, we were bored, we were lonely. We were frustrated, we were looking to distract ourselves, whatever it was. And we unconsciously, in this autopilot of our system, did whatever we do habitually. The conscious mind is, of course, the rest of the stuff. The conscious mind is that which I am aware of. That is the goal. The ultimate goal of a spiritual practice is to be always conscious. As it gets higher, as it gets deeper, we become conscious of being conscious. Then in the meditation, you go to different levels of consciousness. Sitting here, I'm just able to be conscious. Okay, I'm here, I'm speaking. I'm present. I'm not on autopilot. But you can take it to another level, and can I bring my consciousness to the place of the one who is watching me speak, to the one who's actually not speaking. But in our lives, first we have to become conscious. And the tragedy is that the vast majority of us spend the vast majority of our lives living in our unconscious mind. This is where we get angry. This is where we shout. This is where we abuse. This is where we do all kinds of things that we later think, oh my God, what have I done? Anger and consciousness don't actually go together. You cannot be consciously angry, which is why you can't do it on demand. Otherwise, whatever it was that made you angry a week ago, you'd be able to bring it back and get yourself angry again. We can remember the situation, but we cannot consciously get our blood pressure up, get our faces red, get ourselves sweating, get ourselves ready to punch a hole through a wall. It happens in the unconscious. And this is why so many, actually probably all of the world's deep spiritual traditions are rooted in a practice of mindfulness. Whether it's meditation, whether it's contemplation, whether it's prayer, mindful walking, mindful eating. I mean, there's entire schools of meditation based only on being mindful. What that does is it brings us into the present moment. It makes us conscious. And that's where it's all at. Because only when we are conscious. Otherwise you think, well, why bother? I mean, so many of these programs have you eat a raisin for half an hour. It's not like, enlightenment through eating raisins. It's if I can really be mindful, the mindfulness itself becomes not just an end, the means to an end, but an end in and of itself. In that presence, the Om is there. The mindfulness quiets this. And then we experience that. And this is the key. So as much as you can, all the time, just try to bring yourself back into the conscious mind. When we meditate, yes, but in our lives also. Can you always just be right here? The minute you find that your mind is somewhere else, just bring it back. And what you'll find is that you have a much greater capacity for love and joy and peace. Because as I always say, you cannot be happy yesterday or tomorrow. It is actually impossible. You can only be happy right now. And if you're not here now, I can promise you you're not happy.